Alright, good morning, people of YouTube. So we are back again today with an updated deck profile. This time we have BlackWarGreymon yet again. So this deck's primary purpose going into BT10, everybody thought, was going to be to hard counter Crossheart. And everybody was correct because this deck has like an undisputed just winning matchup against that deck. You basically can't lose going up against it. But, Cross 4 was banned. So everybody was thinking that this deck would fall off in relevance because its biggest positive matchup was out of the picture. I'm here to tell you that this deck was still winning in BT9. It was winning in BT, 8 when it came out. I've been playing this deck since BlackWarGreymon dropped, and I'm here to tell you that this deck is here to stay. This still has a very positive matchup into a lot of the top tier decks in the format. If you can pop like Kiriha and Sora and Joe, you're winning against Blue Flare. This deck can come down and pop multiple Cool Boys going into Metal Garuru. It was always able to go toe-to-toe with Grandis. All of the top decks this format, this deck can at least hold its own against. And I think that this is in a better position than ever. So we'll go ahead and get into some of the differences going into this format. So if you guys like this kind of content, make sure you guys like and subscribe. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into the eggs. So this is going to be a point of contention right off the bat. I'm actually going for a full house split, going for 3 copies of the BT9 Koro to give myself plus 1,000 and 2 copies of the Draw Koromon from BT5. So you want the plus 1,000 Koro to be to be able to hit over 17 or 18,000 going into the Examon matchup, and this helps you be able to do that. The way you succeed with BlackWarGreymon is to make yourself well-rounded this format, because the top tier decks all kind of do different things, so you want to be able to beat them all. I'm not saying that Examon is a top tier deck, but if they do get the Examon line, you want to be able to have that power. And this is even good on your level 5s because we do put a little bit more emphasis into the Metal Greymon X antibody. So buffing that Digimon up 1,000 is also really good. However, we do want to draw into more combo pieces. Swinging with your stack and then drawing into more materials to get your next stack rolling is always going to be nice. So I did want more than just one of this BT5 Koro. This is the point of the deck that you can basically change whatever you want with these eggs, but this is what's been working for me so far going into the EX3 meta. So going into the rookies, we got 4 copies of Agu X and 4 copies of the promo Agu. This is pretty standard, but we also added 2 copies of the starter deck 7 Agu to give yourself plus 2,000 whenever you attack a player. So this is going to be really important for making sure that your Metal Greymon X antibody and your BlackWarGreymon live security checks, and that your level 6s are basically doing what they're supposed to do. So we want to have a stack that's coming up more often than we are playing Agumons, but because we are playing Agumon some of the time, we still wanted some amounts of the Searcher. So I am playing 3 copies of the BT5 Agumon as well. It's very good, especially since you have the Agumon X antibody. I really like this Agumon line. It's done wonders for me. You want some amount of search. The BT5 Agu and the Agu X antibody do that, but these 6 power gainers are what you really want to be evolving on your raising area. So going into the level 4s, I got 4 copies of Greymon X, standard. And then this Greymon actually shifts to be the most important Greymon going into this format. We have the BT5 Greymon. So this card says, as an inheritable, your turn, you get plus 2,000 if you're a Greymon name, which is imperative. The plus 2,000 boost from this, with the plus 2,000 boost from this, with potentially the plus 1,000 from the egg, gets you plus 5,000, which makes the Gaio hit 18 and the BlackWarGreymon hit 17. And you can buff that up even further with cards like Hero or Metal Greymon X antibody. But having this in your stack is easy to do, and the Wind Digivolving effect to gain a memory is actually pretty pivotal. If you're able to pop a memory boost or start your turn with more than 3 you can actually do some kind of crazy shenanigans where you go from an Agumon all the way up into a BlackWarGreymon and are still able to keep it your turn and swing. And this card is a facilitator for that. So because you want to be able to build a stack quickly in case something goes wrong, and you want the power buff, this card is actually more important now. So we got 2 copies of the ST1 Greymon for security tack up. You want to put on early pressure and even pressure in the mid game, and this card helps you do that. And then we have 1 copy of the Greymon from BT8, the one that has the inheritable blocker. I think it's good. You want blocker in this format for some decks, but against a lot of the tier 1 decks, you know, Bloomlordmon is just going to suspend you. This card does help against Metal Garuru, but they have protection from battle, so they're just going to restand and swing anyway, and because you didn't kill them in battle with the BlackWarGreymon, you're not going to get the restand. But this card is still really important because it is a black source. So having a black source allows your BlackWarGreymon to pop Tamers. So I wanted more than just the Metal Greymon as that black source, so I am playing 1 copy of this card to improve that ratio. Then for the level 5s, we got 4 copies of the best card in the deck, the BT8 Metal Greymon. The D-Digivolving gets around so much. The Pop of 3000 gets around cards that are preventing you from popping off your memory boosts. Metal Greymon is just very pivotal. The inheritable to attack on suspended things is still really good. Even with like evade come out, you know, that's only in 1 deck, and chances are you are faster than them 99% of the time unless they open the actual stones. And this deck, you just outspeed them and just kind of beat them before they even set up an Examon. But even if they do set up the Examon, because of all your power buffs, you're able to get over it. So I do really like this Metal Greymon, and it adds so much value to the deck. We are only playing 1 Ultras mode because I wanted to make room for the 3 copies of the X Antibody. So the Ultras mode is really good. Yeah, you pop 5,000, and it's another copy of the X Antibody Greymon inheritable for the protection. And it's really nice, helps you stack levels. But this deck really focuses on kind of protecting your stacks, not so much security attack, which is where the Metal Greymon X Antibody really adds a lot of value to this deck. Because this card not only gives you more DP if you have a Metal Greymon in your stack, but even if you evolve this off of just a Greymon, you still get the security attack +1, which is really good for pushing the envelope. This is just a good card, and it's one of the reasons that this deck keeps pace with Metal Garurumon as well as it does, because while they're swinging and doing a bunch of checks on a level 5, you are also able to do that. Like, if you have the tie out, if you have the Greymon out, this card alone can clear 2, 3, 4 checks, and let you hit with a rookie, you can clear their entire stack before you even go up into a level 6, and that's just some of the power behind this card, so you do want to see it, so I am playing 3. So for the level 6s, I got the 3 and 3 split of the BlackWarGreymon and Gaio. Both of these cards do very different things. They're very good against very different matchups, and you need to see both of them. I don't think one is more important than the other, so I do really like this ratio. Yeah, BlackWarGreymon dealing with Tamers is good against pretty much any deck, but Gaio having a bunch of keywords helps you deal a lot of pressure. This card is definitely more threatening if you can stick it on the board, and BlackWarGreymon is more threatening whenever it's coming down. But both of these are very good, and I think you want at least 3 of both. So for the Tamers, I'm not playing any level 7s. I feel like this deck doesn't really need to go into a level 7, but if you want to cut like a level 4 or one of the options, then you could make room for a single copy of one, but I really don't think you need it. These cards are fantastic, and they do everything that this deck wants to do. But if I were to add level 7, I would add the X Antibody Omni, or yeah, probably that one. The new one from BT10 to help me deal with security control a little bit better. But this deck doesn't even have a bad matchup against that because of the Greymon X Antibody and the Ultras mode inheritable. So I really don't think you need a level 7. So moving along to the Tamers, I got 1 copy of Tai and 1 copy of Hero. So this is a little bit controversial. Realistically, you should be playing 2 of 1, but I'm deciding to play the 1-1 split because against decks like Examon, or decks that have big security, you want your Metal Greymon X Antibody or like your Gaiomon to hit certain DP thresholds and certain magic numbers. And the Hero really helps you with that. This helps you, like if you're missing a power buff in your pieces, this card can substitute for that power buff. But pretty much every other time, the Tai is better. But the Hero situation comes up enough that I do feel like the 1-1 split is justified. If I were to make room for a 3rd Memory Tamer, I would probably up the Tai first. Because the extra security attack, again, the same purpose as the Greymon from the starter deck. It just helps you push the envelope and lets you deal extra damage earlier. If you have like this Greymon and you evolve even the Greymon X over it, and you have like the Agumon, and you can do 2 checks against something like Blue Flare because their security is relatively weak. You can do 2 checks off of your level 4 Greymon X Antibody. And then if you're going into a Metal Greymon X and you have like the Tai in play, there's no way they are winning that game because you were just swinging through all of their security. So for the rest of the Tamers, we got 3 copies of Cool Boy. This card helps you accelerate your gameplay and add cards to hand. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And I would play 4 if it didn't bottom deck certain pieces. But this is one of the cards that I would bump up in the list if I had space. Absolutely. If you play any less than 3, that is absolutely a sin. But one of the key inclusions in this deck is I actually have room for 4 copies of Red Memory Boost now. I love this card, and because we aren't playing an excess number of black cards, this card isn't going to bottom deck like key levels like our level 4s. The delay to gain memory is really nice, and it's especially good in this deck because you don't have to worry about cards like Madoki Betamon or Terriermon, because your Metal Greymon can just pop them. So Red Memory Boost is absolutely insane, but the other reason we are playing 4 copies of this card is because it combos with win rate 60%. So if we have a Red Memory Boost active and like a Memory Setter in play, we're going to 3 memory, we push a rookie up, we evolve into the BT5 Greymon, that's 1 memory. We activate win rate 60%, we go to 0, we evolve into Metal Greymon. That's we do that for free. We did Digivolve, we pop something. Then we can go into like the Metal Greymon X, do a bunch of plays there, and continue our turn at 0 memory. And if we had another Red Memory Boost and another win rate, then we can keep the BlackWarGreymon and keep it our turn. Because you can use more than one of these in a turn, and that's kind of insane. This deck really, really benefits from the win rate. It just accelerates your plays a whole lot. And especially whenever you can just pay for it with a Red Memory Boost that you set up in the early game. The last 2 cards in the deck are 2 copies of Crimson Blaze. I feel like this is necessary to help you in matchups like Bloom Lord. Now that that's a thing, that deck sucks. To go against. Like, it's obviously a really good deck, but it really sucks not having an answer for the boards that they put out. And this really helps. If you can Crimson Blaze blow up their board, then go into BlackWarGreymon, pop their Tamer, and then swing over like their Bloom Lord, you can basically make it so that you auto-win that matchup. And this really helps with that. So that's all I have to say about this deck. It's still a very strong meta contender. You should still be watching out for it. BlackWarGreymon is just going to continue being good. And this is one of the decks that I'm really thinking about taking to Nats. I don't know if we get BT11 before Nats or not, But if we do, then this deck is looking even stronger. But even if we don't, this is just a very solid deck, and it rewards players for playing the game well. So if that's you, if I highly recommend that you play this deck, give it a try, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.